Okay, so today we are going to do Heart of Darkness by Joseph Conrad. So, talking about Joseph Conrad, Joseph Conrad's full name is Joseph uh, Theodor Conrad Korzen Ispi. I will type the name. This is um, Joseph Conrad's full, name. Okay. So Joseph Conrad was an orphan by the age of 12, and mm, his mother and father both died as a result of the time the family spent in exile in Siberia for plotting against the Russian Tsar. And at 17, you find he traveled to Marcellus and began to work as a sailor. And eventually, you find he began to sail on British ships and became a British citizen in 1886 at the age of 29. So it was about this time he changed his name to more British sounding Joseph Conrad and published his first short stories he wrote in English, his third language after Polish and French. So, for the next 8 years, Conrad continued to work as a sailor, even spending time commanding a steamship in the Belgian Congo, and continued to write. He published his first novel, um, Almayer's Folly, in 1894, and in 1896, Conrad married Jessie George. He quickly won critical praise from, though you find the financial success eluded him for many years, and both he and his wife suffered serious illness. And he wrote his best known works in the years just before and after the turn of the century, that is, Heart of Darkness in 1899, Lord Jim in 1900, and Nostromo in 1904, and you find Conrad died in 1924. So you find during the last 2 decades of the 19th century, the European, nations battled with each other, and this was because of wealth and power. So you find this battle caused this scramble for Africa, in which the European countries they competed to colonize as much as of the Africa as possible. And you find while the colonizing Europeans claimed, to want to civilize the African continent, their actions spoke otherwise, and they were interested solely in gaining wealth and did not care how they would, gain that wealth and who would be affected, who would be killed. So you find one of the most brutal of the European colonies in its treatment of the native Africans was the Belgians, Belgian Congo, the property of Belgian King Leopold I. And 1890, Joseph Conrad worked as a pilot on a steamship in the Belgian Congo, and Heart of Darkness is at least in part, based on his experiences there.
Autobiography, kind of.
Yeah, Habiba?
It's an autobiography, kind of.
Yeah.
A part of it.
Hmm. Where were you 2 days?
So, sir, on the very first day, I actually forgot. I don't know why this happened, but I forgot to attend the class. It was early in the morning. So, sorry, sir.
It wasn't early in the morning. It was at 9:30.
Yes, sir.
And
Sir, actually,
9:30 is
though I
not a
knew
good.
that I had to attend at 9:30, but I don't know what happened that day. I simply forgot. It just slipped off my head. I don't know why.
Okay.
Sorry, sir.
Yeah. No, no problem. Okay. So then you find the characters in Heart of Darkness. You find there are characters, Marlowe. So Marlowe is one of the, five men on the ship in Thames. And Heart of Darkness is mostly, made up of his story about his journey into the Belgian Congo. So Marlowe is a seaman, though you find and have seen the world many a times over, and perhaps because of his journeys, and perhaps because of the temperament he was born with, he is very philosophical, passionate, and insightful. So you find, but Marlowe is also extremely skeptical of both mankind and civilization, and to him nothing is very simple. You find as the narrator describes him, to him the meaning of an episode was not inside like a kernel but outside, enveloping the tale, uh, which brought it out only as a glow which brings out a haze. And you find the one thing Marlowe, does seem to believe in as a source of simple moral worth is nothing but hard work. The next character is uh, Kurt. Kurt, Kurt is, the fiance of his intended, and a man of great intellect, talent, and ambition. You find 1 minute. And um, you find that Kurtz is embodiment of all that's noble about the European civilization, from his talent in the art to his ambitious goal of civilizing and helping the natives of Africa, and can be just seen as a symbol of that civilization. But you find in his time, Africa, Kurtz is transformed from a man of moral principles um, to a monster who makes himself a god among the natives, even going as far as to perform terrible rites. And his transformation proves, that all of his talent, ambition, and moral ideas, he was hollow at the core. Then we have the general manager. The general manager is the head of the company, is a central station on the river, and is a very untalented and a very unexceptional general manager who has reached his position of power in the company because of his abilities, to cause vague uneasiness in the other, coupled with, uh, you know, and you find to withstand, the terrible jungle diseases year after years. And you find the general manager has no lofty moral ambition and cares only about his own power and position and making money. So so then you have the Russian trader. The Russian trader is a wanderer and a trader who wears a multi colored, patched jacket, and makes him look like a harlequin, a jester. And you find, though some miraculous stroke of luck, he has ended up alone in the jungle along the Congo and survived. He's naive and innocent, and believes, Kurz is a great man beyond an unconventional morality. So he even nursed Kurz because back to health on occasion of number of occasions. And you find when but you find Kurtz once threatened to shoot him also. So you find, of all these white men in the Congo, the only the Russian refrains from trying to assert control over the jungle. Then we have the narrator. The narrator is one of the five men on the ship in the Thames, and he is the one who relays, to the reader Marlowe's story about goods um, and the Congo, and he is very insightful and seems, to understand Marlowe's quite well, but you find otherwise has little personality. So he does seem to be affected by Marlowe's story. Then we have the brickmaker. The brickmaker is the general manager's most trusted person, and you find he's a very sly and a lazy and a power hungry person who, despite his title, seems to have never made a brick. But the brickmaker cares only about his own advancement, and therefore sees goods as a threat. And he also thinks the that Marlowe and Kurz are somewhat allied with the company. So Marlowe describes the brickmaker as a papier mache, Mephistopheles. So, and then you find, this he does it, I think, in uh, okay, that will go to the next. Okay, so these are some of the major characters, and then we have some of the minor characters, as the general manager's uncle, who is you know and is the head of the El Dorado exploring expedition. And like his nephew, this uncle also has come, to Africa to make his fortune. And he is generally untalented, and his expedition disappears in the jungle. And you find Kurz intended is the woman of in Europe, whom Kurz is betrothed to be married, and she is incredibly idealistic about both Kurz and the colonization of Africa. So she continues to mourn, Kurz as a great man even a year after he dies. And you find Marlowe's aunt is a well connected and idealistic woman, and she helps, Marlowe to get the job as a steamer pilot for the company. And you find she's extremely idealistic about the European colonization of Africa, and seeing it as a beautiful effort to civilize the savages. Then we have the director of the companies, one of the five men on the ship in the Thames, who listens to Marlowe's story. Then we have the lawyer. The lawyer is one of the five men on the ship in Thames, who again listens to the to Marlowe's story. We have an accountant. Accountant is one of the five men on the ship in the Thames, and who listens again to the to Marlowe's story, and he is not the same as the chief accountant. The chief accountant is another person. Then we have um, Fresselvin. Fresselvin is a steamship pilot who got into silly arguments that cost him his life, and his death you know opened the position into which Marlowe was hired. Then we have a doctor. A doctor is a medical man in the city, who's interested in how um, the Congo drives um, men crazy. Then we have Swed. Swed is the steam ship captain, who has nothing but disdain for the government's chap, who care only about money. We have the chief accountant, who's a company employee at the outer station, who wins Marlowe's admiration simply to keep himself groomed. And the foreman is a man who helps Marlowe repair the steamship. And the pilgrims are the company agents that Marlowe gives the nickname pilgrims, because they carry long wooden staves wherever they go. Then we have the helmsman. Helmsman is the coastal native of Africa, trained to man the helm and of the steamship, and he works for Marlowe until he is killed. Then we have another character, African woman, the African woman is a savage and stately African tribeswoman who seems, likely to have been Truth's lover. And then we have the general manager's servant, is a native, a boy who has grown insolent because he works for the general manager. So these are all the characters. So what do you think, how has Joseph Conrad presented Marlowe as a character, and how important he is in the text? Habiba, we start from you.
Sir, yes, sir. He has been presented as the hero. As per now, to what I know of this novella, he's presented as the hero, and somewhere he's been presented as the narrator also, where Marlowe is shown to be the narrator of the story, and he tells the story in linear fashion. So, like, of course, he is on the voyage to this river, uh, and he gets back to Brussels to accept an assignment in Belgian Congo. And all throughout this novella, it is about his journey down the Congo River in search of this mysterious Kurds and his return to Brussels. So, but hypocritically, we find in this novella that Kurds, you know, as Marlowe hears about him, was a very insane and a very eloquent person, but he is not. So, all that responsibility of being eloquent and a very white man, not in terms of the skin color, but in terms of his like all the inner abilities and potentialities, he's being presented as the white man. So as of now, he is presented as the white man, or we can say
The
in
and
other words, as the hero of the novella. But throughout the novella, in the words, Kurtz is being presented as the hero, but the actions which a hero is supposed to behave like, it is of the Marlowe's one.
okay, Anjita.
So Marlowe is the protagonist of this novella. He is. It is through his eyes that we get to know what are the horrors of imperialism in Africa. And he's not being so judgmental, but he knows how much hypocritical these white men are, and had he was already skeptical about the argument that they say they are planning to civilize the Africans. He already knew it is just an argument that they make in order to exploit Africa. So this Marla makes it easy for the readers because he is the guide for the readers to understand the horrors of imperialism by the Europeans.
Okay, Alia. Alia, are you there?
Yes, sir, I'm there.
You haven't read today?
Sir, I have read it, but it is, you know, a kind of different novel, so I'm not getting it. I have read the summary of the novel yesterday only, but I'm not able to get it.
Okay, Prachi.
Yes, good morning, sir.
Wonderful.
Sir, for this man, Charlie Marlowe, he plays an important role as he's the narrator also and he's the protagonist also. And he's considered to be a wise, knowledgeable man. And but his like in this journey, he develops an obsession about Kurtz. Like he wants to find him. He has listened. He has got to know so much about him that he develops this kind of obsession to meet him, to know him, and he has made him like a hero in his mind. But gradually, when truth unfolds, then he finds what has been the actual thing. So throughout the novel, I feel he has a very important role to play because he is depicting each and every like he is like taking out the points, digging out the points which are mainly the key points of this novel. This like civilization versus savagery. Then there are themes of darkness and lightness. So with his talks, with his experiences, the like author also wants to bring out the points through him. So what I felt, so that's what.
Sir, I have one more point to add to.
Just a minute, Habiba.
Okay,
Sanjana,
sir.
Sanjana would like to hear from you.
Sir, others have already told what are the main points to be highlighted. And apart
Anything
from
else you would like to add to that? Can you tell about the period of the how the novel was written?
this, sir, it's like it was written in the year I believe 1899, and Joseph Conrad, when he wrote this novel was critically acclaimed, and at the same time, it was known as the cult classical. It was so praised, and if like there is something I was just going through a term of scramble for Africa. Like if we go about the background or the deep down about the novel, so scramble for Africa, it just denotes that how, like, the history, like how there were segments among the peoples of Africans, like they were not a single religion they were following. They were in small different groups, and people were following different religions at a time, and this the white man took it as advantage, and they were externally they were claiming that they want the Africans to get civilized, and that they was trying to depict to the outsiders, but in reality they were in search of, what can I say, like uh, they were just taking all the uh, like ivory and other whatever like precious things were there. They were just like, taking all these things, and but in externally they was trying to depict this, that they want to make the African civilized, and that was the reason for which African writer, black writer, Chinua, I can't pronounce his name, but he once one of his page he mentioned that Marlowe is a racist. Reason being, people often the writers they comment that this book basically deals with the racism. Marlowe has only shown one side of the picture, like he has only picturized the life of the Africans, but it's not the truth. Reason being, he has also very vividly portrayed the picture of Kurtz also. Because we find when Kurtz was in the forest, there was no one to be ruled. He was his own king, and no one was there to rule. So he turned into a monster. Externally, he depicted himself towards the common man as if he is the king and he is a savior and he is working in their favor. But externally, in the deep down in his mind, he knew what he was doing. Therefore, like this is the also part, one of the other side of the white man, which the dark side of the white man, which Marlowe has depicted in his writing in this novel, that is Heart of Darkness. And most importantly, the Heart of Darkness, I believe, is the title signifies the entire plot or entire outline of the story. Reason being, uh, it's a very deep line. This heart, we all have a darkness within. We oftentimes we tend finding difficult, loopholes among the person in the opposite. That this man has
Correct,
this.
correct. That is important. Yes.
Yes, it's a very good point.
But the thing is that we forget this one, that whatever that there are many loopholes within me, but we fail to recognize that, and we just tend on, like finding out or pointing out the darkness in others' heart. So the most important thing which Joseph Conrad has tried to point out is this heart of darkness is not only about Marlowe or Kurtz. It's all about all among us. This heart of darkness is a very big term, and which should be introspected by each and every readers, which whoever goes through this novel, which I felt after going through this novel.
Okay. Yes, Habiba, you wanted to add something?
Yes, yes, sir. Actually, part of it Sanjana has already mentioned, but another part I would definitely mention, of course. Sir, I wanted to say that there are two crises that Marlowe is seen to have faced in this novel. So, because the earlier picture of hero is seen to be uh, someone who is just facing, dealing with the crisis around. So one crisis in the first part of the novel, he seemed to be striving to stay kind of true to his value despite the brutality that he witnesses around. And the second one is he like once he has witnessed all the brutalities, now he has this responsibility to come to terms with the madness and savagery he witnesses in Kurds, because when he met Kurds, he found out that he has descended into an irrational and amoral state. So now he has this responsibility on his shoulders to maintain his moral integrity and returns to bruises. So, which I'm going to connect it what Sanjana has said. Like Marlowe's journey is not very transformative in the traditional sense. Like I said, as I said, that a hero is supposed to face the tragedy and deal with the tragedy, then only he uh, comes up or emerges as a golden character. But he returns home very haunted instead of victorious or triumphant, making this novel decidedly an anti-heroic tale. So this thing comes at the writer, where he has kind of deliberately portrayed a little blackish part of Marlowe, making him an anti-hero. So the novel's ending is little ambivalent. It's not completely victorious on the side of Marlowe, but also a very e- ends with a very mixed feelings, where he's not the victorious one. Like he's also still dealing with the some tragedies and also dealing with his inner trauma to what he has already witnessed. So he's not victorious, he's still dealing with it.
Yes, yes. Um, so why do you think that, why has Joseph, brought the whites here? What is the reason behind, bringing the whites here?
So the traditional uh, hypocrisy of racism, the whites and the blacks.
Yes,
As I was reading this novel, sir,
yes, yeah.
I got reminded of this very old novel, this Alice Walker's The Color Purple. So, sir, there is, I don't know whether or not to be vocal
So
about this
which one?
point.
Which one? Come again?
Al- The Color Purple by Alice Walker.
The color purple. Okay, I haven't read that.
Okay, so
Uh,
sir, it's quite similar to this novel, so that's why I got reminded of that novel. So I don't know whether or not I should be vocal about this point in the class, because it's a very derogatory one. So
mhm.
if you allow me to do so.
Okay, yeah. You
Okay,
can.
okay. So while reading that novel, so there is this one point where like the whites are civilizing the black ones, like the black Americans. So so they are enslaving them, and there is this one man like Kurt, similar like Kurt's, and he is kind of he has self-declared himself as the Lord to those black ones, and he offers his phallus to those as the breakfast, like the first meal of the like day, and it's like a very derogatory thing. Like kind of Kurt's, like he has declared himself as the Lord of the black people, but he is doing all the anti things to them.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So you, yes, Anjita, yes.
Yes, I just wanted because the question you asked about the whited sepulchre, right? The one
Yeah,
that's
yeah.
mentioned in the book. So
Mm-hmm.
actually, it is the symbol of Brussels, which is the headquarters of this Belgian mission altogether. Because it is called whited sepulchre because it's taken. This word is taken from Bible to represent certain people who acts like they are so civilized outside, but inside they have a very dark mission altogether. because in this Belgian colonies, they actually say that their mission is to civilize the Africans, but whereas their intention is to ponder them and exploit them.
Oh, yeah, yeah. Okay. So basically, I'm going to
And
tell
not
you.
just exploit, and not just exploiting in the terms that they are just kind of extracting ivory without their permission. It is like in deeper layers, exploiting physically, exploiting financially, economically, and also psychologically.
Yeah. So I will be yeah. So I will be telling you about. So you find so you know what is the novella, right?
Yes, sir, it's like the shorter version of novels.
Yes. So novella is a short novel, or you can say a long short story. See, and this novella has been taken. It is an Italian term which means new, and it is intended to read in a single sitting, and is not usually divided into chapters. So you find this Heart of Darkness as three parts: part one, part two, and part three. And you find the the technique, the frame tale, which is a literary technique that sometimes function as a story within a story. And you find this leads to the readers from the first story to another story. And in the Heart of Darkness, you find, in the Heart of Darkness, Marlowe's story is narrated to the readers by an anonymous narrator who listens to Marlowe on the deck. And Conrad's frame a narrator like the reader understands that the European imperialism is founded on a number of lies that he has wholeheartedly believed. So colonialism, you find, uh, is has been a practice. Is It's a practice, or you can say policy of overpowering and exploiting a weaker nation or area by a stronger nation. So you find the political control which is exerted by the Europeans and the European power over the rest of the world, during the past few centuries. It was, justified, describing it as the extension of civilization. And the European, colonial powers, argued that the more civilized, developed, and the right, to colonize the weaker, and less civilized and underdeveloped nations in order to create economic development and civilization in the colonies. So this is so called, as a civilizing mission, which in turns the established and justifies, the superiority of the European world over the non-Western world. Uh, and when we talk about colonialism, post-colonialism is an academic and an intellectual response to the cultural legacies or of colonialism and imperialism. So we see it attempts to analyze the politics of knowledge, which is created, controlled, and distributed by the colonial ideology, and the way in which it represents the colonizer and the colonized. So you find it questions and reorients, the modes of cultural perception, and illustrates the ideology and the paraxis of colonialism and the neo colonialism. So you find that this attempts, to destabilize the theories that support the Western thoughts, through which colonialism perceives the world and tries to, establish an intellectual space for which, the marginalized can voice out their experiences. And notable theory who have given, theoricians who contributed in the development of the post-colonial theory are like Franz Fanon, Edward Said, um, Gayatri Chakravarti Spivak, then Homi Bhava, all these people. So you find when we are talking about the Congo, Belgian Congo in Africa until 1960, Congo was, captured by Belgian ruler King Leopold II, and is named at it as independent du Congo, which means the Congo is a free state. So you find apart from the ivory and the rubber which was shipped to Belgium in plenty, you find free labor was a major attraction, and Leopold's agents, treated the natives cruelly and forced them, to work for them without any wages, and the detractors were killed cruelly. So you find this historian, Adam Hochschild, Adam Hochschild, yeah, observes, that during the reign of Leopold, the population of Congo, dropped by 10 million. And you find the novel Heart of Darkness portrays, this dark phase in the history of colonialism in Congo. So Marlowe, compares the Congo River to a snake to suggest the magical power in which it is associated. And you find the river is, uh, emblematic of the culture and civilization of Africa's, where which the whites failed to come to terms with. So you find in this, there are three parts, as I said. Part one talks about. Should I go part wise, or should we talk
Sure,
about?
sir. We can go part by, sir. No problem.
Okay. So part one deals with, Nelly, who's a small ship, is moored in the river Thames at London, and you find the narrator and his companions are waiting on the deck of the ship for a tide to turn, and the unnamed narrator thinks about the great sailors. You find Sir Francis Drake and Sir John Franklin, and mentions some of the well known ships like the Golden Hind, and then Erebus and Terror, and you find the sun sets and the lights from the lighthouse and the ship appear, and he describes the river and the London city to his companions who are waiting on the deck. So you find the director of the company is a lawyer, an accountant, and Marlowe is the protagonist. So they become completive as the sun sets, and he refers to London as one of the dark places on earth. And Marlowe, breaks the silence by narrating his tale about his visit to Congo. And the narrator reports that Marlowe tells to the people on board of Nelly. So you find Marlowe, refers to the conquests of the past and how, all those conquests turned out to be plundering the riches of those who were different from them. And he suggests that something more is needed, to redeem mankind. So there was a long silence, and after some time, Marlowe broke the silence, telling about one of his journeys. And even as a boy, Marlowe, desired to become a seaman or an explorer. So you find he spent about 6 years as a sailor in the Indian Ocean, Pacific, and the China Seas, and then decided, to join as a pilot in a steamboat that goes to Congo in Africa. And there he saw the map of Congo in shop window and was fascinated by it. So the Congo River is, compared to a snake, as I told you, with its, head in the sea and its body, curving over the country, and its tail is deep in the land of the land. So you find the, you know, Continental Trading Company, you know, conducting operations in Congo, had its headquarters in Brussels. And after signing, the documents in Brussels, he underwent medical examination. The doctor, measures his heads with calipers and asks him whether there were, any history of madness in his family. And you find after thanking his aunt, he leaves for Congo in a slow French steamer, and it reached the mouth of the river in 30 days. And Marlowe suffered, depression due to long and boring journey. He was taken to the steamboat in a steamer, and the captain of the steamer told his, uh, ominous stories about the Europeans in the Africa, and referred to a man who committed suicide on the road. And then he spent about 10 days at the company's, outer station from where ivory was shipped to Europe. And he came across the real Africa during his stay there. Starving natives, broken machinery, loose rails, and arrogant white traders. And during this period, you find he met the accountant who told him about Kurz, a company agent who was, in charge of ivory business deep in the interior. And you find he described Kurz as a remarkable person and wanted him to inform Kurz about his imminent promotion in the company's administration. So Marlowe, moved to the central station one day after the conversation, along with 60 men who carried, equipment, food, and water. And then you find he saw the signs of cruelty, suffering, and destruction, on the way. So abundant with the villages, bodies of the native men who, have been shot on the head, and the innumerable, paths to the interior of the forest, constructed by the invaders, enhanced, the horror. And when he reached the central station, he was informed that the steamboat that he has to pilot was, damaged, and that it was at the bottom of the river. And so you find he was forced to wait there. And he met a brickmaker then, who inquired him about the company's activities in Europe, but he confessed ignorance about such official secret. And then you find he saw a sketch in oil in the wall of the brickmaker's cabin. It is of a woman, draped and blindfolded, carrying a lighted torch. So the manager informs him that it was painted by Kurz, and Marlowe, needed rivets to repair his steamboat, but it did not, arrive. And instead, you find a group of white explorers who call themselves as the El Dorado exploring expedition arrived, riding donkeys, and followed by, natives in search of treasure. So you find he heard rumors about Curzon who had, gone to the interior of the forest. So this is all about, which is there in part one. Okay. Anything you would like to add in part one?
Marlowe actually doubts whether the manager says that it will take 3 months to repair the ship, and Marlowe actually doubts that the manager is intentionally doing it because he doesn't like Kurtz and he wants Kurtz to die out of illness because Kurtz is already ill.
But later he learns that it was Kurt's command. It was the Kurds only that who ordered his crew to be
To do this?
delayed, and yeah,
Yeah.
because he didn't want everyone around to kind of attack him.
Okay. The second part, we see that, here what happens is Marlowe is learned, from the manager that Cruz wanted the company to send him to the jungle to show, how much ivory he could procure. And later he resends his assistant back to the manager, alleging inefficiency. So you find the manager, felt that Kurz would die in the jungle, and the El Dorado expedition entered the jungle, and it was heard that the donkeys were all dead, as well as the natives, saying that the less valuable animals. And after repairing the steamboat, Marlowe, with his team of pilgrims, also started the journey to the inner station, accompanied by the manager and the natives. So the steamboat, came across a hut of reeds after 50 miles below the inner station. So there was the remnant of a flag and neatly piled wood, and a board in which it was written, "Wood for you. Hurry up. Approach cautiously." There was a table, heap of rubbish, and a book of seamanship inside the hut. And Marlowe, took the book and put it in his pocket, and the natives took the woods. So you find a mile and a half below the inner station, the natives attacked the steamboat, firing, small arrow arrows, and the, pilgrim reacted by firing guns into the bush, and the helmsman was killed by a spear. So you find Marlowe thinks about the helmsman's look before he died, and he throws his dead body overboard, and the current makes his body. So the and then you find it rolls twice and disappears, and Marlowe says that he had been a second rate helmsman, but he would now be a first class temptation, meaning food for the cannibals. So you find a decaying building on the slope of a hill was seen, and a white man wearing a hat with a boyish face, with no beard and blue eyes appeared. So you find he reminded Marlowe of a Harlequin.
Sir, one thing I didn't understand in this part is cannibals, they were the man-eaters. So Kurtz, when he is at the end of providing education in a very polished way, he is civilizing other people, then how come he
Come again,
has
come again, come
like
again.
the Kurds, he is at a polished position and he is being the lord of the people. He is
Mm,
civilizing other people.
mm.
So how come he can gather an army who has cannibals into it? I didn't get this point because cannibals are man eaters. So if
Yeah.
he has an army, so he should be kind of creating an army of his own people. Why
So
he is creating army of cannibals? Because
yeah,
ultimately he is civilizing cannibals, then how come he civilized cannibals by having cannibals in his
so
own army?
that is the character that you find, the dual character that he has.
Or we can say he was a cannibal himself.
Yes, of course. Means you can interpret in that way.
Okay, sir.
Yeah. Anyone else who would like to answer this Abiba's question? Prachi, Anjita.
I think it's very difficult to create an army of white men in a place like that. It's very difficult to survive in a place like that. Even the helmsman who was steering the boat, it was a trained native there. It's easy for them to train natives rather than bringing white men and letting them die because the health situations, their health might get damaged very easily in jungles like that.
Okay, yeah.
And sir, also this is what exactly is happening. Like he is also turning what he was in, like initially what he was, and now what he is. This is the transition which is actually shown in this Heart of Darkness. So if he is keeping his own army, may that thing will be like a barrier. But if you are taking those people who are belonging from that place only,
Yeah.
it is easy to train them, it is easy to like they are savage. So
Yes. And it is
Or we
easier.
can
I
say,
mean,
sir,
it is
money makes
easier
you more of
to
a
train
person who
them
you
than to
really
be
count.
already civilized.
Yes, yes, yes.
Or we can say, sir, money magnifies you. Money makes you more of a person who you really are. So if you are at the outer core, you are a civilized person, but uh, deep inside, you are a cannibal. So if you have money, or in the language where we can, like from the language of novella, if you have ivory, so it makes you more of a person who you really are. So you become cannibal himself because you have this temptation deep inside to become a cannibal. You are just kind of uh, being a warrior with your own temptation to be brutal, to be savage.
Somewhere it depicts this thing like if you if like if I'm not wrong, this examining the themes of power dynamics and morality. Like it is said now, with
Yes,
power comes
right.
great responsibility also.
Yeah, yeah,
but
right.
but if
Absolutely.
that power is unbounded, then it becomes like you become like a what to say, a dictator or something like uh,
Dictatorship.
kind of, so yes,
Yeah.
dictatorship, and there it results into you come with a vision, but if like if you are not bounded by boundaries of morality, then sometimes this power only involves you, and it totally decomposes you. So what like Habiba started with, maybe this may be a symbolizing thing in this novella.
Yes, yes, yes. Right.
The more ivory he has, the more cannibal he is becoming.
It's all about, the
Power
power.
dynamics, power
Yeah.
play.
Uh, okay. So coming to the third part, reaching the inner station, Marlowe saw a long decaying building with, long posts around it, and each post, was topped with a round curved balls, which were human heads.
Yes,
Okay.
sir. It's a very horrific scene, sir.
Yeah. Yeah. So he came to know that Kurtz was still, alive, and that it was his quarters, and the natives attacked the boat because, they don't want anyone to take Kurtz away from them. So you find Marlowe, came to know more about Kurds from the Russian, who told him that Kurds used to go for hunting in the forest for ivory along with the natives. So he wanted, Marlowe to take Kurds away quickly, and he had very high opinion about Kurds. So he had listened to him on many occasions and had discussed about, love. And he had also nursed Kurtz out of two illness. So you find at present Kurtz is very, ill. And looking through the binoculars, he discovered that the round knobs that he saw on the posts, bordering the house, were the heads of the native rebels. So a group of natives appeared, carrying Kurds on the stretcher, and he ordered his army to leave. And the manager and other agents, conveyed the message to Kurds, laying him on bed. So, leaving Kurds room, he saw a woman who had a, proud and proud appearance emerging on the shore, and she wears, brass leggings to the knee, and brass wire uh, gauntlets to the elbow, and necklaces of glass beads. And she walked, with measured steps, and seemed to wear the value of the several elephant tusks upon her. And you find she boarded the steam boat, raised her armies, and disappeared in the bush without speaking a word. So the Russian says that she has created problems for Kurds. And Marlowe heard Kurt speaking irrelevantly to the manager inside the room. So when he, came out, he informed Marlowe that Kurt's Ivory district will be closed as his method is unsound. And the Russian and, Marlowe shared the suspicion that, the white, um, um, you know rescuers of Kurds are, really trying to harm him, and Kurds never wanted, him to be taken away, and that is why he ordered attack on the steamboat. So the Harlequin further, wanted Marlowe to protect Kurt's reputation when he goes back to Europe. And Marlowe woke up at midnight, hearing the sound of the drum and the native reciting incantations, and he found Kurt's room empty, and found him trying to escape, crawling through the grass. So, seeing Marlowe, his first reaction was to ask him to run and hide himself. But then he told Marlowe about his plans, which were ruined by the manager. And then, one minute.
Sir, it is symbolic of the madness of the result of imperialism. Like
Yeah, yeah.
he crawling over the ground and just
Grass.
kind of
Yeah,
being paranoid and protecting Kurds for no reason because nobody is attacking from outside, but he is being paranoid. I don't know why. Because he has ordered himself, sorry, he has ordered his manager and other people to kind of uh, be a fence to him. They are being fenced to him, but still nobody is attacking from outside. There is
yeah.
this insane madness or paranoia behind it because it is the
It is
outproduct
madness.
of
It is
the
nothing else.
imperialism.
It is madness only.
It is
You find.
symbolic, yeah, it is
Yeah,
symbolic to the madness
yeah,
of imperialism.
yeah. And they saw three natives covered with bright red earth, shouting some magic spell, and Kurt's native mistress began shouting something, and the same was repeated by his 1,000 followers. So you find the white men pointed the rifles towards the natives, and Marlowe blew the whistle vigorously to scare the natives. So, though many of them, ran away, the wild woman did not. And the whites then, opened fire against Kurds' followers, and Kurds continued to speak about his experience and handed over a packet of papers to Marlowe to keep it for himself away from the manager. So, you see, the manager, because why he wanted to keep it away from the manager,
Manager doesn't like him
and what else?
So
because
there was a
he
conspiracy. So there was a conspiracy behind it. Manager wanted to kill Kurds and gain the reputation which Kurds had.
Yeah, yeah. So you find that one evening, when he entered Kurt's room, Marlowe heard his last words, the horror, the horror. And Marlowe left the room without uttering a word. Then the manager's servant boy announced in a contemptuous voice, Kurt's dead. And the next day, they buried his body in the jungle. Marlowe felt that he could not, compare himself to Kurtz. So he had something to say. And his last word, the horror, are an indication of his conviction about life. So you find it may be, a reference to a moral victory, or that he had finally, after many defeats, and you find back to Brussels. In Brussels, Marlowe was nursed back to health by his aunt, and a company official visited Marlowe demanding the papers handed over by Kurtz, and though he hands over the report on the natives, he removes his final comment, that is, exterminate all the brutes. And Kurt's cousin, whom he met, told him about Kurt's musical abilities and his, organizational capacities. So you find, according to him, Kurtz was could have become a inspiring political leader with his charisma and his electrifying voice. And Marlowe also met Kerr's fiance, who appeared to
To
be
which
very
he lies.
yeah, to be very sincere. Very why he likes, because she was very sincere, trustworthy, and very innocent also. And you find when she asked Marlowe to tell Kurt's last word, he lied and said the last word he pronounced was your name. She, shied and cried. And the story narrated by Marlowe was over, and on board the ship Nelly, the listener stood still, and the narrator, looked at the clouds, the overcast sky, and the Thames, and felt, that the river is flowing into the heart of an immense darkness. So this is all about, uh, the novella. So we find here, you know, we find alienation, isn't it? Don't you think?
Yes, the severe silence and abandonment of uh, civilization, unnamed and
Hmm.
unowned or disowned civilization.
So where do you find this silence?
Like when the river is flowing in the end and
Yes.
there is darkness. And when it is mentioned the heart of darkness, like the river is flowing to the heart of darkness means heart is the core of a human body. That means the river is flowing with the voice of it, with the sound of its own, but it has nothing to say because there is complete darkness. So it's flowing with the core of darkness because it has no light around. Darkness is symbolic of the absence of light. So it has no light around, or we can say darkness is because when there is absence of light, so darkness is something which dominates everything around. So darkness is dominating the civilization. Darkness is dominating the mannerisms. Darkness is dominating, what should I say, all the white aspects of the society.
Sir,
Okay.
what I have got through this novel is we see only the superficial things, but in reality there are depths
Something
and depths
else.
of things. There are
Mm.
depths of things.
Yeah.
Sir,
Anyone?
like when we talk about madness in this novella,
Mm.
sir, can we say that it is the result of being removed from one's own social context and allowed to be the sole arbiter of one's action, one's own action, and also this can be linked like only not only to absolute power and a kind of moral genuineness, but man has fundamental fallibilities. And in regards to Kurtz, he has no authority to whom he answers but himself, and this is more than one man can bear. So like this one represents to each and every human being this
Right, right,
darkness,
right.
what she said,
Yeah.
this darkness
Mm.
is not only someone who is at a position of Kurtz or
Who's, yeah,
Marlowe or
specific. Yeah.
anyone. It comes to
So
each and
it is like a
every.
moral.
Or
It's
maybe we can say
yes, sir.
everyone is dark, everyone has darkness around.
Everyone
It is
has
your
its
own
own
innate light
fallibilities,
which
right?
is helping you to go about.
But that light is also from within only.
Yeah,
Like that is
innate light.
also
Yeah,
our
innate light.
perspective, right?
Your own light
Like
which is help you to go about. Yeah.
and in that in like what I read through the things and just had an inference. It's like you get powers, you get everything, like you get money, you get power, you get people's love around. You need to balance this all. S- like you should not be in a frame that now I have everything and I am like a god. In every novel, like if like we take a context from
Mm.
Dr. Faustus, so
Yeah,
there
the
also,
tragic flaw. Mm-hmm.
yeah, from there also we can connect, like, or having the powers and then resulting like treating myself as a god, and things then tumble around and they come upon us only, like that madness we get in our minds, and somewhere that comes to an end. Like in the end also, this man Kurtz, he was shouting this, the horror, the horror. Maybe this horror, like when, see, when we are young, when we are in our good health, we can ignore many things, but once you start resting down, when you are coming towards your end, you do realize what your follies, right? Like in the end, maybe he is also realizing that what wrongs he has done, and that was this the horror, the horror. And sir, what I felt like,
Yeah, yeah,
this.
yeah.
Yes, sir. So that way, it's a perfect tragedy because it is conforming to every uh, convention or norm or rule of the tragedy, like having a beginning, middle, and end perfectly, and a
Mhm.
rising action, and also having the tragic flaw, Himertia in literary context. Like Kurtz has his own Himertia to meet his own tragedy. In the end, madness we see in the novella.
And then giving a good message, like ending with a tone of like you cannot say a happy ending because nothing is happy about it,
Ambivalent.
but yes, you are
But
giving a
there's
good
the
message
message.
that,
There's the message.
giving a good
There is a
message
message,
that,
yes.
yeah, that's it.
Anyone else would like to add? Today, Prachi, why are you so silent?
Sir,
Alia is
sir,
silent. Yeah, yes, Vinod,
Sir, I
please.
was speaking, sir.
yes,
Lastly, I only
yes,
spoke.
Sorry. I said Prachi, it's Anjita, yes. Yes,
sir,
Vinod.
sir, we can see alienation in
Hmm.
the character as they are on an expedition. They have to be
Mhm.
away from their family. That is one. Even in the Kurt's case, he was away from the family and he had settled down and he had become he was into the trade of ivory and he was there. He had become part and parcel of the land, almost like a king who could dictate his terms. So, but the root where he was, that he was missing. The familiarity with which he was born, that was missing. He had to set up everything again, and though the purpose were maybe business purpose, maybe partly to serve the Africans, which may be a hidden purpose, uh, or or a covered purpose for that they have to do the business. But when you see all this, that is the expedition staying at one place, you will find there is an alienation of the character as they have to be away from the homeland which they were born.
Okay, yeah,
Yes, yes, it's a very good
yeah,
point because he started with the aim of civilizing the Africans, but later on he got digressed with his own business.
yes. So you find in the beginning of the men on board, the ship silently waits for the tide to turn, and in the end you also find they remain silent, deeply moved, by the story of Marlowe. So you find the long journey to distant land and the lonely life there had, damaging effect upon most of these characters, like Marlowe, Kurtz, and even the Russian. And you find the psychological, transformation, that the imperial explorers, undergo is portrayed, subtly in the novel. And you find the fate of the captain and the Russian, referred to the to the experience of loneliness and you find alienation and its after effects on their life. And the case of Kurz is most horrible experience, as he, you know, has been cut off from the humanizing influences and has lost reason, overwhelmed by the base animalistic instinct resident in him. And you find the novel, becomes a journey into a darkness within. So it focuses mainly on devastating effects, that the imperial expansions and the brutality which is inflicted upon the natives, which has had on the colonizers. So then we also see a civilization, as we were talking, the novel, reveals the hollowness of the great European civilization, which is, you can say, skinned deep and has failed, miserably in keeping its humanistic overlook in the colonies. Right?
Sir, we have one cinematic adaptation to this novel
Hmm.
in Bollywood only, KGF, like exactly same, where we have this El Dorado expedition also, where they are kind of extracting gold uh, from the gold mines, and natives are completely unaware of it, and they are being exploited. They are forced to work, and they were not provided with proper food and proper nutrition. And if a girl was born, it like she was destined to be like killed by the natives only.
Yes, Anjita?
Yes, sir. I just wanted to add, I think Kurtz is the representation of white colonialists, European colonialists, because in the beginning, Marla mentions that Kurtz had a theory that godlike whites can civilize Africans. This is a theory that he had, and he went there, but eventually he fell for greediness. And after all the greediness and all that dark mind, I mean his mind completely got filled with greediness, and his focus was only on making money. And in the end he becomes mad. That means Europeans actually became morally failed. I think that is what they are depicting through Kurtz, the character.
But during imperialism and colonialism, like Europeans did not actually have this idea that they will go and make, like the colonies, they will go and make educate. Beta chup rehna thoda. They will go and make them educate and polish them and may like they never had this thought and idea, if I'm not wrong. Where, so how to you relate Kurds with that image?
Because he had that theory and it was written in his papers. It Marla mentions that in first part.
Like maybe because Kurtz initially he is shown as a good man, and he was maybe like apart from the race which like Europeans, which like what I have studied through, that these Europeans while colonizing they never had a good idea about the people in who they were dominating. They never wanted that they should be educated or they should hold any position, because if they did so their position will be lost. So Kurtz was something different from them. Initially he had this thought, but gradually he was like in greed and everything, in power, or you can say this ivory, he
Yeah,
lost his
yeah,
power.
correct. Mhm.
Like totally we cannot say that he is uh, like representing this colonial like European colonial thing, what I felt, sir.
Civilizing the blacks or like the Africans. It was the uh, coverted agenda because they had this hidden agenda inside, like everyone knows, to exploit financially, physically, and psychologically, and to get their riches.
Like also when they came to India, also they never thought of bringing education or uh, making India prosper. They
Yes,
had
yes,
the
yes,
sole agenda of exploiting us. Simple thing.
yes,
And there also they had this thing, this mindset only. But there were governor generals which had some different ideas for Indians also. So that
yes.
way we can relate to Kurtz, like he was one of good souls who went for doing good, but later on he fell with his own follies. So what I would like
Yeah,
to
yeah,
add.
yeah.
Mm. Having the aim to civilize someone was a rise, and digressing from their aim and or getting more connected to what their inner aim was, to exploit someone, was the middle part, as I mentioned earlier, and meeting their flaw was the end. So it is the perfect tragedy in terms of this tragic convention. So yeah, it is happening till date. Like this is a very old idea to exploit
Connect to
someone.
the present, situation.
What is happening in Middle East, we say it
Yeah,
is
yeah.
just the exact thing, exact scenario what is happening in this novella. Like they are told by the white people, okay, we are civilizing you, we are making you more eloquent, we are making you more sophisticated, and subtly and silently, without them knowing, that they are just stealing their riches.
Sir, the real motive of the imperialism was to extract only the resources from the natives' places, taking
Yes,
undue
yes, yes, yes.
advantages, taking undue advantage of the people who were residing there, exploiting them. But on the face, they were showing as they were civilizing them.
Yes, sir, true, sir. Also because, sir, their idea behind kind of extracting the riches and resources was also very demographic, isn't it, sir? Because whites, their land is, they have this cold land, like nothing can be grown in that land. So they have to kind of rely on someone else for the resources. Now it is their inner devil that they are kind of stealing it and not making any deal.
Hello.
Yes, sir. Sir,
Oh, sorry.
I've mentioned it.
Yeah. Yeah, let me tell you about, yes, we also see racism. The Heart of Darkness has been accused of having, racist approach towards the natives of Africa. So though it is not, treated as a central theme, the novel presents Africans as niggers, criminals, cannibals, savages, and the natives are also portrayed as subordinate beings, and are forced, to work, hard, chained, starved, and murdered without any, sense of guilt or fear of punishment. And you find it indirectly suggests that the white man has the innate right to conquer any country and subordinate the, people there for the benefit of the Europeans. So Kurz, you find, who was worshipped by the natives as god, and has no reluctance, to conduct his report on the savage customs with the comment, exterminate all brutes. And on the other hand, you find the novel also unravels the horrible side of the colonial enterprise, with its corrupt, hollow white officials, and the mass destruction that they have perpetrated on the native population in Africa. So, but you find the novelist's approach revealed through the character Marlowe is that of an indifferent observer, and his approach is not, far moved from the white colonists. So, although he regrets the death of his helmsman, who was a black, he observes, that he was a savage who was no more, important than a grain of sand in the black Sahara. And you see the view that the white are civilized and the blacks are uncivilized. We find that they need to be civilized, and is a very, kind of perspective shared by the novel. And this, you find, a view is purely, racist in its content. So when we talk about the title Heart of Darkness, it refers to the darkness of the uncivilized. The dark, which refers to continent Africa, as well as the, inferiors of the minds of the characters, which are dark and not, open to other people. And
Sir, one thing, sir. Sir, like you said, the darkness of the uncivilized, but I feel like this novel is more about darkness of the civilized.
Yes, sir. Because if you like what you are saying, if you are civilized, if you are educated, if you are the like, if you are having an upper hand, you are having more responsibilities towards the society. It is your responsibility to train the untrained. So,
but then these people who were trained also, they were also, we cannot say them that whatever somebody, teaches you, you start, learning that.
Sir,
okay.
they're not even in the picture, no, sir. The exploited ones. The exploiters are in the picture. So they
Mhm.
have their own tragic flaw. So their coverted aim was to civilize someone, but they are not civilizing. They like in this with this hidden agenda of doing something else in layers,
They
like
started doing
exploiting.
their own
Yeah.
goals.
Now it is their darkness. No, sir. I mean, what I feel like it is
Yeah, it's
it is
absolutely
very
okay.
devilish.
You
This
can always
this
write
act
your
is
own. The nobody can. It's the way how you interpret. This is what I interpret.
okay,
My
sir. Okay, then
interpretation
okay, sir.
might be, different from yours.
Sure,
Okay,
sure,
sir.
sir. Yes,
Yeah,
Yes,
sir.
sir.
yeah, yeah. So you find, you find. So what are the themes that you see here? One, you see that, colonialism is one important themes. Then the lack of, truth, racism. All these are important themes which you see. Anjita, you have something to ask?
No, sir. I was just requesting that in the last 10 minutes of session, can you share the exam related questions and answers so that we can prepare for the exam also. That's all.
Okay, okay. Um, so, so anything that Habiba you would like to add? Yes, you can add.
Yes, sir. Sir, see, am I? Be quiet. Sir, first part is hypocrisy of imperialism, as it is like very apparent in the novel. Colonialism, that is also very apparent. So, 2 points I have to mention other than these. First one is madness as a result of imperialism. So, like the out madness being the outproduct of imperialism, because it is not coming with uh, the original idea of civilizing and conforming, and the people who are the stakeholders in civilizing, they are not true to their own aim. They have this hidden agenda and covertness, which is very problematic. And second one, sir, absurdity of evil, sir. Like devilish acts, evil, it can go to any extent. It is exploiting people in layers.
Mhm. Yes.
So only these 2 points I wanted to mention.
Also, we can add this major theme also includes human folly, the importance of restraints, and moral darkness.
Yeah, that also you can add. Yes, that you can add. So we can see, some questions, like important questions, like, the significance of,
Themes,
yeah, themes,
significance of title,
uh, of the title, of
yes, the
significance of
character
Kurt's,
sketch.
last words in the Heart
Yes,
of
sir.
Darkness, and how it, interprets, Marlowe interprets them. Then we can also see this, the meaning of, the horror, the horror in Heart of Darkness. We also see, the role of the, that lady, in the Heart of
Yes,
Darkness.
sir. The women characters
Yes,
in the
yes,
novel.
women characters.
His fiancée.
Then we have,
Also the aunt, Marlowe's aunt.
yeah, and the dark and the white, how are they important, and how are they, you know uh, reflected in the text.
Or in other words, we can say symbolism,
Yes, yes.
symbols. Like
Symbols, yeah,
it
symbols.
is like alluding to the racial distinguishment,
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So
and
all
also, sir, narration or the style of writing, sir. We can also talk about it.
that
Like we have
in
the two.
general, the style of writing, the language, all these, that, will come when, but when you write about the language, when you're writing about the narration, all that you have to represent is, from the text, from how, the writer has approached his approach of writing, and but taking, considering the period, when this novel was written.
Yes, because sir, we have two narrators in this novel, no? So that's why.
Yes, 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 yes. So that's,
Also, sir, we can talk about the autobiographical account and relate to this novel.
referring to Marlowe.
Yes, sir.
Yeah,
Like relating it to Joseph Conrad,
yeah, yeah, yeah.
because like major part of Joseph Conrad is like being shown as Marlowe and in his voyage.
Hmm. Anjita.
Sir, also the crisis, as we talked earlier, we can talk about the crisis faced by the protagonist, or simply we can get the question of representing the character in our own eyes as we read the novel, or from the reader's eyes in general.
Means, are you talking about the character sketch?
No, no, sir.
Then,
We can simply get the question who you think could be a protagonist or the right, oh, sorry, the hero in the novel. Like it could be up
sorry,
to
I
the
can't
readers
hear
whom they are
background noise so
visualizing the
much.
reader.
Abiba, your background noise, could you please, I'm not able to understand.
Okay, so I'm like telling this that we can get a question like it could be up to the readers that who you think could be a hero in the novel, or if there is a hero, if yes, if
Yeah,
not,
yeah, yeah. Some
we
might,
can get
some
it's
might
a
refer it to
hmm.
Marlowe. Some might
It's
refer
a
it to,
subjective question, so
yes,
I can interpret a hero as someone, or
yes,
you
yes,
can visualize hero as someone. So it's
yes,
a
yes,
subjective question.
yes, yeah. Yeah. Anjita, are you clear with the questions, type of questions?
I don't know the complete question because most of the time she was interrupting you while giving the question completely. So I've just mentioned the important
Okay,
points.
I
That's
will
all.
do one thing. I will send you the questions in the group. Okay, I will send it in the group.
Sir, I have a question.
Yeah.
Like apart from these questions, sir, is it true? Like I was reading through the summary and other notes. Somewhere it was written that the author J.S. Eliot draws the inspiration of his poem "Hollow Man" from this novella. Is it
Which
true?
poem? Which poet? Poem?
J.S. Eliot.
Yeah.
J.S. Eliot, with his work "Hollow Man," he draws
J.S.
an
Eliot.
yes.
I think it is T.S. Eliot.
Yeah.
T.S. Eliot. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is T.S. Eliot.
Sorry. Yes, T.S. Eliot. My handwriting. Sorry.
Okay. T.S. Eliot's which poem?
Hollow Men. Like it is having this theme significance.
Mm, just a minute. I am not sure about it.
Sir, I vaguely know about Hollow Man. So, sir, it is also the same thing like being someone from outside and being
Okay, so this superficial thing and all.
diametrically opposite to what you are portraying to the outside world, but you are someone
Okay.
inside. So you have devil inside,
So it
but you are
means like
ha
that line
ha
is
ha ha.
true about
Yes.
that he took this inspiration of writing this Hollow Man
Ha ha ha.
from
Yes,
this
yes,
novel. Okay,
yes.
fine. Yeah.
Yeah, this is I see that it is okay. It talks about and there's a connection between both. Mm, mm,
Sir,
the
also we can get such questions like compare this novel with any other novel
might
of the
not,
same
might
time
not,
period.
might not. No, no, you don't
Okay,
generally get. Generally, you don't get a comparison between this and that. You will never get like such questions.
okay.
Yeah, unless you are doing a regular course.
Sir, this novella is not having a lot of critiques. Why?
No, it has. Who said who it is not having?
Sir, maybe one aspect to it could be like it's a simple tragedy. Like
No, no,
as I
it's
tell you,
no, we cannot say that we don't have critics to the novel.
so we do have, but we don't have much critics to it because it is not a new idea. Anything that is new is bound to have like a lot of critical analysis. But something which is not new, so people tend to like take it with a pinch of salt. Okay, it is already there. It is a simple tragedy. It ends with a beginning. It has a middle part. It has ending. Okay, a
But Habiba,
man.
how would you define that it does not have many critics? What is the number as per you?
So, but we are talking in general because
That
it
is what
doesn't get
in
very
general.
popular.
When we have one critic, also it has critical
Yes,
reviews.
sir. Yes, sir. It
You
So
cannot
critics
maybe
do
say.
that
have.
maybe criticized because already this novella is itself is a critique on
Maybe,
colonial
Yes,
rule.
yes,
sir, also
yes.
because
So
it is
maybe the
dealing with
critics are
facts.
from that end only,
Yeah.
who
Yes,
are
yes.
in favor of this European rule. Maybe they are the critique because other than this, literary devices can fall for this critique thing. But like this novel is very simple
Sir,
with a very
also
good
because
idea, with a very good thought, with a
yes,
very
yes,
good
it's very
message.
simple.
So,
It gives a very clear, it's not complicated. It gives a very clear um, image of what the author is trying to convey.
right, sir.
Yeah.
So that's what I was like going through, and this was if like you are being a critique for a novella, what will be the points? Like, how
you know
will you judge
we,
other than the
we,
literary devices? Like, yes, literature is subjected to the devices, style of
no,
narration,
when you
everything.
said that we don't have critical comments, if we cannot judge, saying that there are no critics, or we cannot say there are more critics are not there. What is the definition of that? When we have critical reviews, then it has critics, so we cannot say that it is not having critics. No? We cannot judge that with numbers.
No,
Okay, sir.
actually, sir, maybe I partially agree with Prachi's point because she and I, we both are trying to say that this text is not much criticized. Actually, we are trying to say this.
Like
maybe.
initial novel which we went
Huh,
through, this
it is not much
with
criticized.
Charlotte Bronte and this all, they have lot of critique, like question and answers also they follow, like this critique said this. There are many
You
many
take out
names
these
there.
research papers and you will find how many critics have have given their critical reviews.
So one thing which I think could be the reason is it is dealing with facts. It's a factual account. So anything that is imaginary or fiction deals with like criticism. But anything which is very fact based, so nobody criticizes it. कि हाँ ये हुआ था तो हुआ था. How can we
Fact
criticize
Initially,
it?
based, see, fact
initial
based.
novels were also like very factual only, Habiba. Like if you're talking about the last novel, they were also having this Victorian
Correct,
age
of
thing,
course.
and they
Mm-hmm.
had this fact also, like marriages, love, money, social status, social class, but still they were criticized a lot.
हाँ,
But
it was
that type
criticized a
of
lot.
criticism I did not see while going through this novella. Um, maybe what I feel, maybe because it is hitting everywhere, some like it is
Yes,
hitting somewhere or the other for every person, that you have to control your own deeds.
because
That would.
when we read the autobiography of Joseph Conrad, like you find it that 90% of what happening in the novel, it is happening in in the novella, it is happening in his life. So that is why I'm saying this is fact based. Like most of it is true. Like it has happened earlier. So that's why I'm saying it was not
Okay,
much
okay, you
criticized.
can say the correlation of his personal
Yes, yes,
life
it
with
was.
novel
Yes,
things.
it is
Okay.
like 90% of is fact based.
Okay, so I think that can be put in your it's personal views you can always put
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
in giving. Okay, so I think today we can end the class here,
Okay, sir.
and have tomorrow's class as per the time, 6 to 8, the evening 6 to 8. Okay, thank you everyone.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Good day, sir.
Thank you, sir.